Hello, my friends. How is everyone doing? Happy Tuesday. I see some people in the chat that don't normally get to make it. I'm so glad to have you here. This is great. This is great. So, today we are talking about guilty pleasures. I hate that term with a wild passion. I hate it. So, as I have in the description box, like I love me some horror. Love it. Love it. But I also love some cheesy horror, like those Hell House mockumentaries that were horrible, but at the same time riveting, like a train wreck. You can't look away. And I had some people were like, I can't believe that you've watched those, or I can't even believe that you watched more than once. Well, why shouldn't I? I enjoy them. I enjoy them. It's and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I hate the term guilty pleasure because that says to me that there are certain acceptable forms of pleasure and not acceptable forms of pleasure. If your form of pleasure is not hurting anybody, if, then why have guilt? Why have guilt? Or see, Sherry, you watch soap operas, right? Not my bag, but I'm certainly not going to judge you for it. Certainly not going to judge you for it. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so soap operas were the thing. They were the thing. And I mean, I remember that I had friends that talked about the characters like they were real people. Like I'm sitting there because I wasn't allowed to watch them, right? My mother thought they were trash TV and I wasn't allowed to watch them. And I remember thinking to myself, like, who are these people they're talking about? Like, is it their aunt and uncle or somebody in their family I haven't met? Or, but they were talking about the TV shows. Of course, being kids, TV can be, fictional TV can be very real. But, General Hospital, right? And it's like, yes, Kay, oh my God, yes. It's like shaming self-care. It's like the people who call self-care selfish are the same people who constantly use the term guilty pleasure. Any drama show is a soap opera. You could say that. But we say it ourselves, that's my guilty pleasure. Okay. These cheesy mockumentaries, horror mockumentaries are my guilty pleasure. I caught myself saying that as I'm looking at my watch it again list, and it's pretty much all of these, corny and really slow mockumentaries but they're like you can't look away because you're waiting for something to happen. And I'm like, well, there's my guilty pleasure. And I'm like, wait, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Hey, Brandy, we have to stop assigning guilt to the things that do not deserve it. We really do. Because guilt, I mean, you should only be feeling guilt if what you've done hurts someone. Okay. Now there'll be people out there who, will argue, well, you're hurting yourself because you're frying your brain watching that crap. That is their opinion and they can leave it at the door. Right? Because you deserve to find pleasure in these things. And that's what they're basically telling you is that you don't deserve to have that pleasure. Well, I'm sorry. No, actually, I'm not. But shut your mouth, right? Because this came, the last time I had somebody mock me for my love of cheesy horror movies, this was from a guy who, spent his weekends wearing hockey jerseys of his favorite team and screaming at the television set. And yet he turns around and tells me that I'm killing my brain cells by watching these shows. I'm not putting it on him. I don't do sports. I don't, you know what? I will hand in my Canadian card. I don't understand hockey. I don't understand the rules. I have no desire to. And hockey's just not my thing. I might watch the odd basketball game, but I haven't done that in, like 10, 15 years. But I'm not going to say that's your guilty pleasure, screaming at the television set, a guy who's never strapped on a pair of skates in his life. But as you can tell, I'm kind of bitter about that conversation. A little bit bitter about that conversation because it was the last time I actually went out with a dude. And he had the nerve to basically tell me that the stuff that I liked to watch on TV was crap, and but talking all about these sports teams that I had no interest in. And I was thinking about that conversation as I was deciding to do this for Tough Love Tuesday, and I'm like, why? Is it to make themselves feel better? Probably. I mean, why else do people mock other people? To make themselves feel superior. So for somebody to say to you that it's a guilty pleasure, that's their guilty pleasure, they are putting themselves down. And it's up to us to stop them in their tracks and remind them that watching these types of TV shows or, playing pickleball instead of lacrosse does not need to be a guilty pleasure. There's no guilt attached to it. So stop manufacturing negative emotions and negative energy and attaching it to the things you enjoy. Because then you feel like you have to hide it. I don't hide my love of these shows. It's like anything else. It's like me with the planners and the washi tape and the everything else. I'm not going to attach guilt to that. Some people go out drinking every Friday night. Some people go to clubs. Some people, I have a buddy who his thing is going to the movies by himself. He does that twice a month. Goes to the movies by himself. And every time he goes, it's costing him at least $40. Right? And that's his pleasure and what he chooses to spend his extra money on. I choose to spend my extra money on planners and washi tape and stickers and Post-its, and because that's what makes me happy. Going to the movies by himself and being able to watch a movie without having to have somebody else with him who might talk in his ear, that's what makes him happy, right? That is not a guilty pleasure to him. He refuses to attach guilt to it. But it's considered strange in his friend group because he chooses to go by himself, right? Don't manufacture negative emotions and negative energy where there are things that you find pleasure in, right? This is, me with the original Ghostbusters movie, Jess. I can probably recite the entire movie word for word. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing gives me more comfort and more joy that when I'm having an off day and I want to go into my little nest and watch something on TV, that I'll pull up the Ghostbusters movie. Because it's like a big warm hug from my childhood. It's like we were talking during sprints the other day about Supernatural and how I'm back. I was right back to the pilot because I finished 15 seasons of Criminal Minds and I needed a new comfort show. Needed a new comfort show to be on in the background, right? Aren't you a little old to be watching that? You're 35. It didn't ask you. You know what? You know what I watched the other day? The cartoon Franklin. It's about a turtle. And it gave me all of the nostalgic, gushy feelings. I didn't watch it as a kid. It wasn't around when I was a kid, but it was around when my son was a kid. My son who's turning 28 next month, right? It's like It's like those kind of things. Why would you feel guilt about the things that make you feel good? Because it's not you. It's somebody else wanting you to feel the guilt so that they then seem superior to you. They're just trying to convince you of their own superiority. And you know what? Watching the US news, y'all have enough of that going on right now. Right? People trying to act like they're superior to you. So don't do it. Star Wars trilogy and the 2 Mummy movies. We call the 2 Mummy movies the bisexual starter pack. That's what we call it in the gay community. I don't watch it either. I don't watch it ever. Every once in a while, it'll pick up on my Google News feed. I'll U.S. story, and I fear for y'all. Just saying, please get out and vote. Get out and vote. That is a whole nother Tough Love Tuesday. But so here's the thing. The next time, exactly, Amelia, find your joy where you can, especially right now. We need those little bright sparks, those little moments of joy, and refuse to feel guilty about it. If you find yourself having the whole guilty pleasure thing, stop. Just stop. Stop yourself. Guilt is useless unless it's because you've hurt somebody else and you need to use that feeling to make amends. That is my opinion. Okay. My joy would be scratching Sig. He's doing his I call it his gargoyle impression. He's like this over the side of the bed. It's hilarious. Sherry obsessively watches true crime, but I write thrillers. Makes sense. Well, this is it. I love me some true crime. I actually have queued up to watch the movie with Buddy from American Horror Story in it, where he plays Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, because he's ear switching. It's because he knows we're talking about him. But listen, if you find somebody else using that phrase, please stop them and remind them that it is useless for them to feel guilt in the things they find joy in. Because you know what? We all have enough of the drag you down crap going on right now that we don't need to be purposely adding to it, because that's all it is. You're purposely adding to it. It's like looking for the drama, right? And it's such a natural reaction for us, though. Such a natural reaction. Oh, you saw it, Sherry? Oh, I haven't watched it yet. And I love him. He's such a good actor. So listen, I'm asking you, keep an eye on yourself for this. Keep an eye on yourself, because the more that you shed off these useless negative emotions that other people put on you in an effort to keep you down, the more you're going to rise. And then as you're rising, you can bring your friends and your family and your community along with you. Okay. And it is your responsibility as somebody who has this knowledge to help other people learn it. This is why I do what I do. Okay. This is what started Tough Love Tuesday, because back in the day when I first started coaching, they called me the kitchen table coach, because it was like sitting around the kitchen table with me or with their auntie or their mother or whatever and getting jacked up in a good way. And, I love therapy, but if I don't come out of each therapy session with an action plan, I feel like I've wasted my time. So here is your action plan. Start stopping yourself from doing this. Catch yourself. If you can catch yourself, you can stop. Okay. And it's your responsibility to stop other people. Stop them from dragging themselves down by something that somebody obviously put on them. Because look at kids. Kids don't know guilt. Kids going to watch the same Bluey show over and over and over and over again. That's why, and I apologize in advance, Kay, that is why songs like Baby Shark become so popular with the children. It's a catchy little tune. And they're going to watch it over and over and over and over again because they have no guilt in doing what brings them joy, doing what they find pleasurable. Okay? They'll watch the same freaking TV show like back to back to back. Back in the day when we had to rewind the VHS tape, you couldn't do it quick enough in our household for Disney sing-along songs, man. The same one, the Winnie the Pooh one, over and over and over again. Kids can teach us so much. So much. And it's not until kids get older that they start having this, oh, it's a guilty pleasure. And that's because the adults in their lives put it on them. And then as adults, we have to unlearn it. I am convinced that from your 30s to your 50s, that's your unlearning phase. And when you hit the end-ish of that unlearning phase, that's when your I don't give a button gets flipped. Remember how I said before that I don't know what happened? It was like somebody flicked the switch and I didn't care what anybody thought of me anymore. It's because I had spent enough time unlearning what my family, society, men, I'm going to have to say it because men have expectations on people with female bodies. What they had, swiping, Rita. But I had reached a point where I had unlearned enough that it flicked the switch of I don't care. So I invite you to start not only doing it for yourself, but taking on the responsibility of helping other people get there as well. Okay. Swipe or no swiping. It's so liberating. For those of you who haven't reached that point yet, Kay and I can both tell you, it is probably the most liberating thing on the planet. Nothing has made me feel so free as being criticized by someone I wouldn't take advice from and being able to look at them and wholeheartedly from my gut say, yeah, I don't care. And meaning it. It is, yes, that and saying no and not explaining yourself. No. And I don't care. So let's get you guys there. Help other people get there. And then let's go smash the patriarchy and take over. Just saying. All right, theme from Bob the Builder. Oh my God. For us, it was Winnie the Pooh because my youngest nephew is still at almost 30 obsessed with Winnie the Pooh and Toy Story. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And next week, a little shout out to Rhiannon for giving me the idea for next week. And I will be posting that up here on this YouTube channel before the end of the week next week. And don't forget that I am sprinting this weekend, both days. And we've got virtual writing retreat coming up. So excited. So excited. All right, guys, go out and get her done, eh? Says the Canadian. I love you to bits. Love you to bits. I will see you next Tuesday.